introduce themselves, because some of you might not see them every day. I'm not going to let the people that you see every day introduce themselves, but I'm going to let the other ones. So take it away.
I'm Sean Brown, Deputy Commissioner for Economic Services Division.
Hi, I'm Jeff Cohen. I'm the Director of the Office of Child Support.
I'm Doreen Marquis. I'm the Human Resources Development Director.
Hello, Paul Dragon. I'm the Chief Administrator for the Office of Economic Opportunity.
Carol Maloney, Principal Assistant to the Commissioner.
Dawn O'Toole, Director of Operations for the Department.
Karen Shea, Child Protection and Field Operations Director for Family Services.
Cindy Welka, Deputy Commissioner for Family Services.
And I'm Ken Schatz, General Counsel for the Agency of Human Services.
And you know Commissioner Yacovone, and you know
Sorry,
Secretary
I'm
Chen.
Leo Clark. I'm
and
the
Leo.
CFO. I was in the
Good
back.
to see you. Anyone else want to join us?
Leslie Wisdom, our General Counsel.
Thank you for being here, General Counsel. Good to see you. Hey, thank you for joining us. And we wanted to call you together to let you know of a change that's taking place at the Department of Children and Family Services. Dave Yacovone has served the state as Commissioner with extraordinary distinction. I can't tell you how grateful I am to him for his leadership of an agency that is one of the most important for Vermonters that are struggling, for Vermont's children, and for families that need us. Under Dave's leadership, not only has he dealt with tragedy and crisis with a calm and thoughtful approach, but he's also made real changes since he took over as Commissioner with this team that stands behind me and some that aren't here. We've seen under his leadership, in addition to confronting tragedy head-on, timely processing of public assistance applications go from 65% to 99%. And when we took over in 2011, 65% wasn't good enough. So he's really focused on the nuts and bolts of the department, the agency. He has ensured that low-income families who deserve quality child care are getting quality child care. Seen an increase of 70% of Vermont's children who are under the who get help from the department. 70% increase since 2011. And in so many other ways, I'm grateful to his leadership. David, some months ago, applied for a job in the another job in the human services sector that I'll let him tell you about. But I just want to say, on behalf of all the people that stand behind me and all Vermonters, thank you, David, for your service, and we're grateful for all that you've done for our children. I'm also pleased to announce that Ken Schatz is going to be the new Commissioner of the Department of Children and Families. And I can't tell you how grateful I am, and I know his colleagues are, for his willingness to serve in this incredibly important and difficult job. Ken has a long and distinguished career of fighting for low-income Vermonters, of protecting children, and of ensuring that those who are struggling have help, options, and safety. He was a juvenile, in addition to serving the city of Burlington for many years. He's been a juvenile defender, a mental health. He's worked for the Mental Health Law Project. He was a law clerk and an employee of legal aid. He got a degree in social work at University of Vermont, and then had the questionable judgment to get a legal degree as well. What I can tell you about Ken is that he cares deeply about Vermont's children, about keeping every child safe, and ensuring that every child in Vermont gets a strong start and has a bright future. So I'm extraordinarily proud to be able to appoint someone of Ken's character, vision, and experience to replace someone who's worked extremely hard. Obviously big shoes to fill, but I know he'll do very well. I want to turn it over now to
top-level personnel changes before the end of this year.
You know, I think Secretary Chen just said it all. We've asked him to go in, work together with the team to figure out what's working and what's not, and to take it on a day-by-day, week-by-week approach. So I'm grateful to the Secretary and to everyone on the team who's working together to try to figure out how we best serve Vermont's most vulnerable.
So do you, beyond just AHS, do you anticipate any further personnel changes at the top levels of state government the rest of this year, as far as you know right now?
Well, I mean, it's a tough question to answer honestly, Paul. I mean, I didn't frankly know 3 weeks ago that I'd be replacing Commissioner Yacovone, so I can't see the future any better than you.
You feel like DCF is doing everything it needs to do right now? I mean,
That isn't what I said. I said that we deal with the most vulnerable, the most important people in the state, which is our most vulnerable children. And it's an incredibly tough job. You know, I think it's worth mentioning when Dave suggested that his wife suggested he get him a job. You know, it's not just Dave. I'm on the phone to him on weekends, on holidays, at night, during the morning, and late at night. He's leading an incredibly intense job, as are and many of the folks in these agencies who are working 24/7 to try to get it right. So what I've asked for is, you know, when you lose children, our most vulnerable children, you have tragedies like we've been seeing across the state. None of us can say that we're getting this right. What I have said is, instead of blaming the hardworking state employees for doing their very best under tough circumstances, wouldn't it be better to ask the question calmly and thoughtfully, are there things that we could do either structurally or personnel-wise that would ensure an even better and safer future for our vulnerable kids? Now listen, there's nothing that I or any other governor can do, either in Vermont or in America, that's not going to see a repeat of tragedy. And as I've said before, opiate addiction and the kinds of choices that adults make with their vulnerable children because they're on drugs make the challenge more difficult than I think at any time in the history of our country. So we're in a tough, tough job. We have an agency that's working very, very hard. We clearly must do better. And that's what I've asked both the Secretary, the Commissioner, and the entire team to really thoughtfully look at is what would give us a better chance at success to protect Vermont's children.
do you have any sense, even at a high level right now, of what the answer to that might be?
Well, I'm going to let the process play out. You know, as you know, we're going to have some recommendations on October 1, but I'm going to let that process happen without my putting my heavy foot on the pedal. Hey, thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Are you suggesting that?
Well, I guess what I'm suggesting, I don't know what I'm suggesting, but I know that when you fired the secretary last month, you were unwilling to call it that, and I just want to make sure that this is not the same situation.
I hope that we've just made very clear that this is a choice that David made based around with his wife and family, based around many months ago, based upon what he sees as best for his future and his life at this time. Dave Yacovone has led the agency with distinction. It's a tough agency to lead. It's one of the toughest jobs in state government. We're dealing with kids that desperately need us, families that have problems that are inexplicably complex, made more difficult by addiction and the other challenges that the hardworking folks there deal with. So all I can tell you is if you're questioning what we're saying, I caution you.
Mr. Yacovone, maybe then you can tell us, with the troubles that DCF has been having over the past several months, did that have anything to do with your decision making and taking a new job?
You know, none of us get to deal the hands we're dealt. It's really how we choose to play them. And I, from the beginning, you know, you go into these positions and you kind of know it's a high wire act, but you do it because you believe in service. And I very much have been sustained by that belief in public service. And it would be disingenuous of me to say this has been a walk in the park. It's hard work, and everybody knows that. And I'm pretty resilient. I mean, I have a lot of stick-to-itiveness. I'm not walking out because I'm tired. I just have a great opportunity in my own community that I want to take advantage of. I every day during the most difficult parts of the job and during the tragedies we felt, was always sustained to come back and do more, just because I believe in serving vulnerable Vermonters, and that's what I want to continue doing. So this is really driven by, I'm sorry if it sounds selfish, but my own personal desire to serve people in a different way on the direct lines again, which I do miss. I've done a couple of tour of duties, if you will, in the state. I was Commissioner of Aging and Disabilities in the 90s. I worked in the Secretary's office as a Chief Operating Officer for 7 years. And now this responsibility. So I believe in service. It hasn't been easy, but these jobs, none of them really are. But I'm not running from anything. Does that answer your question?
So then would you say it was part of your thought process at all in taking this new job?
Well, I think I knew I would have to leave at some point. So when I saw a job open up that meant an awful lot to me, that was more the process. I don't know when timing is good or timing is bad, but I also know none of this is done alone. These great people behind me are the real drivers behind it, but we've accomplished an awful lot. A lot of the infrastructure challenges that were broken or not working right are now fixed. So it seemed like the right time to me.
Considering that we're also in the middle of a child care committee looking into ways that this can all change, is it going to present a setback, you leaving right now, to everyone else who's trying to change the process and the nature of the industry?
My sense is a set of fresh eyes is healthy. And I think most of the Vermonters who are working on these advisory committees, whether they're legislative or those that the agency have reached out to, I think they know it's not about one individual. It's about a system and how to make it work better. So I don't see my departure as being an obstacle to that good work that needs to continue.
Ken, you just heard your new job described as a high-wire act, the hardest job in state government. I think most Vermonters, frankly, wouldn't want this work. Why did you want this job?
Good question. Dave leaves big shoes to fill. And notwithstanding my decision to become a lawyer, I have a passion for issues related to children and families, that we can make conditions better in our state. It's one of the wonderful things about Vermont, is that we're small enough, that we're connected enough, that we really can make positive change. And this position is incredibly challenging. There's no doubt about it. But I look forward to that opportunity and my commitment to doing the best I can to improve those conditions.
And you're ready for the scrutiny that'll come with this job?
Yes, I appreciate that that's part of the process. I think the public awareness of decisions and how they're made is very appropriate, and I know that can be challenging at times, but I do feel ready for that process, yes.
There was an ongoing review and a possible restructuring of DCF, and now that the former commissioner is gone and secretary is gone and the commissioner is stepping down, who's got the ball on this at this point?
Let's let the secretary take that one.
So what I would say is we're really anxious to have all of these different panels and examinations release their findings, because I think all of us in this room understand that child safety is really paramount, and we need to look at everything we can to make our system work better. And so whether it be the legislative committee where I sat through some considerable amount of testimony last week, or the Pathways for Poverty, the Governor's Pathways from Poverty Council at a public hearing, I really look forward to all of that input. We're putting together a report and recommendations for the Governor as promised for October 1st that will look at some of the restructuring questions and challenges, but to be clear, the legislature will have to talk about some of the issues in terms of the statutes and privacy next session. We're also having some consultation to really understand the interrelatedness of substance abuse to all of these issues with some technical assistance from a national organization. All these things need to come together. We've already started making those changes, the important changes in terms of resources, more social workers, better supervision, and better processes. So all of these things will be happening as we speak, and certainly there'll be more recommendations to come. in the future, and then even further on in the future with the legislature.
So just despite the transition, that October 1st date, which is already extended by a couple months, won't be extended again? You're on target for that?
We're on target for that, yes.
Dave, are staffing levels at DCF sufficient to accomplish the mission that most Vermonters expect it to accomplish?
Well, we've made great strides. Clearly, more needs to be done. I can't imagine when I came on board that we would need upwards of 50 more social workers just to shore up what we have. You can imagine carrying that message to the governor and saying, can we have more staff? But he's always been supportive. So I've been so grateful to work in a culture of support instead of a culture of blame. So we've put a significant amount of resources into the issue right now, and we need to, in my opinion, see how those play out, and before more are added. But we need to be responsible and continue to look and say, where else might we need help? Our middle management, our management capacity, our direct line services with our community providers. So there's certainly more needs, but we've made great headway. And the second round of positions we added in May, another 27, not counting additional contracted staff, they're just starting to hit the ground. So I think we need a little time before we can ask that question again in 3 to 6 months to reassess.
Secretary Chen, when you were appointed to this position a few weeks ago, you said you'd also be conducting a review of the leadership of the agency, and it sounded like the other department heads. Have you made any decisions with regard to that, or come to any conclusions about that?
I have not come to any conclusions. I'm continuing my meetings with all the commissioners and with their leadership staff, and certainly those are all issues that will have continuing scrutiny and decisions in the future.
Do you, Governor Shumlin, anticipate